Now, a bit of a little bit of a shocker this week was actually Calvin Ridley later in the week. Calvin Ridley, the former Falcons first round receiver, who played a few seasons in Atlanta. He went to Jacksonville, and now he is signing with the Tennessee Titans. Let's go, baby. He is signing with the Titans for a 4-year, $92 million deal. Now, just a little bit about Calvin Ridley first, and then we'll go into this huge narrative. They overpaid, they overpaid. I'm going to crush that narrative later in the video. So stick around for that. The Calvin Ridley, he gets drafted by the Falcons back in 2018. He has a very good rookie year. I think yeah, I don't think he won offensive rookie of the year, but he was offensive rookie of the month at least one time. He had a very good year. He had over 1,000 receiving yards. 2019 he does okay, and then starting in 2020 is when he really took off. He had I think he started 2020 with 3 straight games with over 100 yards receiving. He was great in 2020. He had 1,300 yards, roughly receptions, or not receptions, receiving yards. And yeah, he always going good until 2021 when he starts playing in his fourth season. He steps away from the game starting in October, and then we eventually find out that he was gambling on sports, and then in March 2022 they suspend him for all of 2022, which is kind of interesting. Listen, you shouldn't be able to gamble on sports, obviously. That there's no question about that. However, you suspend them for a year, but guys who've done way worse, we'll just put it at that, get 4 games. So the NFL, I wish they were a little more clear on how they suspended people. But anyways, so that happens to Calvin Ridley in 2023. He goes to Jacksonville. He has roughly about 1,000 yards receiving. So many people are like, "Oh, he wasn't that great. He underperformed." But that's coming off of not playing football for 2 years. So that's not a bad year. Trevor Lawrence was okay last year. It's hard to judge just off 1 year. So is it true that Calvin Ridley's a little bit of a mystery going into 2024? Sure. His $92 million, a lot of money for somewhat of a mystery. Also true. He's going into his 7th season. I think he's like 29. How much longer will he be, kind of like we were talking with the Kirk Cousins deal? Will he be productive all those 4 years? Probably not. He's a receiver, right? But context matters. So say Calvin Ridley was going to, I don't know, the Chiefs, right? And the Chiefs signed him to a 4-year, $92 million deal. Well, that would probably be a bad deal. Number one, because the Chiefs could get talent other ways. They could get talent in the draft. They could get talent. You obviously have Travis Kelce still. And with the Mahomes contract, you got to spread the wealth a little bit. So if it was a team handicap like that, if it was a team like the Saints where they're like a negative cap right now, then yeah, that you don't want to be dishing that out to a question mark. However, he's not a huge question mark because of everything I outlined. Calvin Ridley is a stud. That's why he was drafted. That's why he had the insane 2020 season. It's just a question mark of how much longer he can continue that. But there is no doubt he's a good receiver. And that's where the context comes in, is because my Tennessee Titans, outside of A.J. Brown, who we lucked in the draft, we drafted him in the second round back in 2019. And then our GM, who I used to really like, John Robinson, turned into an idiot, is like, hey, if we trade A.J. Brown, we could get another draft pick and maybe we can eventually draft another A.J. Brown. Well, that didn't work out. A.J. Brown toasted the Titans in 2022, and then we fired him right after, which was pretty good timing for that anyways. But outside of that, in the last 20 or so years, 25 years now that the Titans have been in Nashville, I mean, we've had some names at receiver. Kenny Britt, Steve Wycheck, he might have been a part tight end, part receiver. Nate Washington, Corey Davis, top 5 draft pick. We've never had Randy Moss when he was way past his prime. Still respect him for coming here, by the way. We've never had that number one outside of A.J. Brown for like 2 years. We've never had that number one. So that's why Calvin Ridley is such a huge deal. You put him as the number one. Maybe he doesn't have that 1,300 yards season again, but maybe just 1K is good enough, right? You put him at number one. DeAndre Hopkins, who was decent last year for the Titans, in 2023, he doesn't have the speed and the breakaway and the one-on-one catch ability he used to, but he does make catches. If you need a 10-yard pass, you throw it to D-Hop. He's a great 2 receiver at this point in his career, but we needed a 1. Now we got a 1. And, there's going to be questions. Is Will Levis the guy? Can he throw it to him? And that's also going to play into Calvin Ridley's numbers too. But you're giving your young quarterback a chance. You're giving Will Levis, who's your second round pick. I think anyone who's not a first rounder, you don't have specific ties to. So if the Titans don't like Will Levis this year, then you can move on. But you're giving him a chance. He had an okay, he had an okay year in 2023, picking up for Tannehill halfway through. He earned enough to, clearly in the Titans' minds, he earned enough to start because we signed Mason Rudolph, who was good last year with the Steelers, but obviously isn't a starting quarterback by any means. So this is clearly the Will Levis year, and you're giving him a chance. So the overpay is part of it. The Titans had the 4th most cap in the NFL. Context matters, for sure. So this is a great move for the Titans. Calvin Ridley is coming to Tennessee, and I hope he stuns, and I hope he proves a lot of you guys wrong, and I think he will regardless. I really do.